So you have an idea for a product,
Yep.
right? But you don't know where to start. You took a look on Amazon, Shopify, you can't find it, or you have a product, you want to make it better. Where do we start?
We help people with ideas get them to revenue.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. My name's Aaron.
And I'm Norm, and we are your hosts and idea consultants here at 52 Launch, a company that brings your idea to market.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking to you about creating your own product.
So you have an idea for a product, right? But you don't know where to start. You took a look on Amazon, Shopify, you can't find it, or you have a product, you want to make it better. Where do we start?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what why 52 Launch was created. And really what we created, what we call the Accelerator Program. That's kind of the answer to that solution, right? And in the Accelerator Program is a lot of tangibles, but what it is, in short, is essentially being your back-end support, bringing your product to market if you want to develop something that you can't find on Amazon, or you just want to make something already on the market, but make it a little bit better. This is what we're here for, right? And we're here to be your partner to help you not only get to market, but help you scale in the long run, right?
Right. Before we jump into this podcast, make sure to go to our channel and check out our other podcasts about what 52 Launch is and exactly what the Accelerator Program is as well, and how we bring that product to market. So you have an idea, you obviously want to get started, you've taken a look online, you haven't seen a product like it, or you want to make a product better. Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question, right? So it's really a non-linear process, right? Because there's a ton of variables from, building the website to manufacturing a product, right? And what we identified about 10 years or so was this is a hard process, and we wanted to consolidate it under one roof. And the answer to that is what we call the Accelerator Program, covering the 4 pillars: design, production, branding, and marketing. Not being a partner that we take stake equity or profit, but just being your back-end support. So manufacturing is easier. Getting product overseas is, you can go to essentially your partner at 52. We are in control of everything. We help you navigate that process in order to bring a product to market that you can scale and really sell quite well.
Excellent. So let's talk about certain types of products, whether it's an app or, just a direct-to-consumer product, right? How do we go about differentiating the two?
So creating a product takes a ton of steps, right? And our job here at 52 with the programs we have in place is to really streamline that process. But kind of starting back on square one, where does somebody even get started with an idea, right? Where do they move from there?
Yeah, and I think it's a long process, right? But it's a process where you kind of, you're sitting there, you have a problem, obviously, in your life, right, that you want to solve. And maybe a product for you just isn't cutting it.
Yeah.
So what we have seen for the people that have come in and pitched their ideas is they're sitting on something, right? They're sitting on an idea, and they obviously want to make it better. So they schedule a consultation, or they're first of all searching, how to create a product.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because that's the biggest thing is nobody knows the first steps to take truly when they want to create a product.
And it seems like you're climbing up Mount Everest just to even get a manufacturer, right? And I think even, before you're typing in create your own product or how do I, bring my product to market, right? You're identifying there's got to be some problem in your life and this product is going to fix it, or you're going to make your life better in some way, right?
Absolutely.
I know you and I can speak to both. I mean, there's a number of golf products, right? You're quite an outstanding golfer.
Well,
say so myself.
Thank you. I mean, we only played once, so I'm going to try to give you a run for your money.
Yeah. Call him Tiger Woods when we're outside work.
Yeah, but, don't read into too much into that.
But from my point of view, right? I'm going through the program myself, right? And I didn't know where to start before because my background is not e-commerce. I didn't even know I just kind of thought products just popped up on Amazon,
right?
Just like they were just there. I knew about drop shipping. I had tried drop shipping before, and it wasn't successful for me. But now working at 52, I now have an opportunity to start my own business, right?
Yeah.
And it's in the holistic skincare space. and it's allowed me to really, spread my wings, I think, and give me a lot of context on how to exactly start a product.
And I'm sure it's pretty nerve-wracking the first time you're thinking of, a product to come up with,
Yeah.
right? And what space you want to be in,
Yeah.
because there's so many industries to choose from, right?
Yeah.
But we've also seen that passion, right,
Mm-hmm.
is a big determining factor of when somebody comes up with a product idea. That's a big drive for a lot of people, is the story behind how they came up with a product. So obviously, you just mentioned you're starting your own business, right?
Yeah.
In the tallow
Yeah.
arena,
Yeah.
right? Which is really, really cool, and something that is really starting to become a big thing for men specifically.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your passion in skincare and when that started and why, you've chosen now as the opportune time to get involved in that industry.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think I've been using tallow now for a couple years, right?
Yeah.
So since 2020, 2021, I've been using tallow. And I've always had an entrepreneurial side of me. Again, not knowing where to start, right? The kind of the theme of this whole conversation. But I've always wanted to, again, kind of start my own business. I've been using somebody else's tallow, have another stream of income, kind of diversify myself that way. And then just working at 52, learning more about the e-commerce space, I was quickly learning how to exactly like make myself different, right? Because it's always, 30% the product, 70% the entrepreneur, right? And I knew that as densely populated as the tallow space is, I knew that I could make this different. I knew that I could be people could relate to me.
Yeah.
Right?
So for skincare as a whole, though, was that something you were always passionate about growing up?
Not necessarily. No, I've always been, I started using skincare a couple years ago. Was kind of like tallow was kind of my intro to it, right? I didn't want to put a bunch of chemicals on my face.
Yeah.
I wanted to be pretty clean, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do it once and work.
Yeah.
Right. And I like set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Right. Which has appealed to me about tallow, right? Because it has, a number of vitamins in it, and it's, helps out your skin that way. Not to self promote or anything, but it's just the ease of access kind of turned me on to it, and didn't grow up at all into skincare whatsoever. But
when did that click for you?
I'm not getting any younger, right? So I might as well
Right.
invest in the skincare now.
Right, I know.
And I don't want to look, when I'm 40, I don't want to look 50.
That's very true.
I might as well start now. One of my favorite YouTubers always, if he's in his 40s, but he said if he could go back, then he said, I do skincare in my 20s. And
Well, that's cool, and it's great to know. And obviously, you want to set yourself apart from what's currently out there, right? So marketing and branding is extremely important,
100%.
especially in the men's space, because you think about dude wipes, right? It's a totally different product, right? But they had to set themselves away for what's currently out there. So talk to me about branding and marketing and how you plan to set yourself, aside from what's currently out on the market.
Yeah, I mean, to start off, right? I mean, using 52, they're going to give me such a great framework for starting off this business. As you dive further into the e-commerce business, right? Obviously, there's so many different online platforms that you can be a part of and work with, right? Whether that's Amazon, Google, or Instagram, all of them you can do paid ads. There's Google Shop, you can do paid ads. You can work with influencers, SEO, which is more of a slow burn. But it really comes down to what channels can I afford and use in order to generate traffic and maintain a solid conversion rate, right? As long as you have a good customer acquisition cost, or a CAC as we call it, then you can remain profitable, right? It will always essentially come down to a math equation. I just got what everyone needs to understand, or what everyone needs to start to research, is based off their niche. Where do my customers live, right? Because they're gonna live, like if you're making a kitchen gadget, that's a visual item, that's a visual product, and it would absolutely flourish on Instagram, right? And there's a lot of influencers in the cooking space that are on Instagram. Pairing that with influencers would do extraordinarily well. And especially if it's priced around that $40, $50 price point, it's an impulse buy. So also go TikTok shop, right? I'm incorporating some of those similar themes, working with influencers to gain traffic. I want a lot of people talking about it. I want a lot of buzz. I want a lot of social proof that, hey, this is the new thing, and making it like relaying to guys, this is easy, it's simple, do it once and go on the rest of your day, right? It relates to guys, not just for guys, also for women as well. But I think kind of being the face of that and leading that charge, talking to people in the streets, generating content, using UGC content is only going to benefit people, because the kind of the social status of your product is really what leads to not just a product being added to your cart, but what makes somebody buy it, right? Because if you can say, hey, this is a great 5 out of 5 stars. It actually worked. I have eczema. I got rid of my eczema, right? Or it's great to use after the shower. After the shower, my skin feels really dry, but this product makes me feel very nourished, right? Having somebody else speak to the product and not just me paying somebody is a different level of a ball game, right? In the TikTok shop world is like Amazon in 2014, right? Where it's reviews are everything. You can't fake reviews. You can't import reviews. It's all genuine, right? It's all organic, right? Getting that organic traffic, getting that organic feedback from users, right? Building up the kind of like the buzz is absolutely key, and how I'm going to be really marketing towards this and setting myself apart from other brands that might just be paying influencers or paying on Google Ads and such. So that's my plan to really stand out from the pack. So obviously with beginning a process like this, right, something like that I'm going to have is just a jar and a formulation ultimately, right? But I'd love to kind of talk about those products that aren't that, right? Whether it's, something big in metal or something that's plastic. Maybe I've drawn it out on the back of the napkin. Maybe I've used AI to generate it. But talk to us about how we're going to work with you to really get this design the way that we envision.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always difficult to kind of just jump into any project, especially when you're talking to us. First and foremost, everybody's so worried about having tangibles before they come and speak to us. Usually an AI generated image, could suffice. But obviously, everybody's thinking prototype is my next step, right? And while that is true, a prototype can mean many different things, right? You could print a prototype in a 3D printer, but obviously that's not a working pre-production sample, right? Which is what 52 Launch does,
right?
Is pre-production samples,
right?
In order to get that done, right? Because we're not necessarily a prototype company. We're more of a pre-production sample company that goes into scaling, because we're looking for that fully fledged end result that's working at the end of the day. But a lot of people are very concerned of I want to take the steps to get there, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a large investment trying to get your business to market, right? So you got to go fast. You have to have a good understanding for bringing your product to market the right way. So making an AI generated image before you come and speak to us, very, very important, because when we turn it over to the team and they start designing and 3D CAD modeling it, the next step is getting that pre-production sample, and many times it's going to be leagues ahead of that prototype.
Because prototypes is really vague, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's putting a couple egg cartons or pieces of cardboard together, or the 3D printed.
It could be a cardboard box.
Could be a cardboard box.
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
know. We've seen it all.
Yeah.
And the pre-production sample, kind of like you alluded to, is the professional version of a prototype, right?
Right.
Would you would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that many times, my team's very, very good at creating a scenario where, we're moving quite fast.
Yeah, we are.
And it's great to sit down with the client, because when they come into the office, you realize, first and foremost, there's no AI. There's a lot of hardworking people, working around the clock, bringing your product to market. So when the client is able to put their hands on that pre-production sample for the first time, it's fireworks.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool, and a great moment for the entire team to see, you're halfway through it right now, right? You have that pre-production sample. Now it's time to put in your inventory order.
Right. And then the pre-production samples, that's already built with scalability in mind, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas the 3D printed version is not.
Yeah, you're set up essentially with the assembly line to start pumping out products.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference between, some of our competitors and 52 Launch, right? We have a very, very good understanding that, half of what we do for clients is set them up to scale. Anybody can come up with a pre-production sample or a prototype, deliver it to their client and say, we're done here. That's not what 52 Launch does. We're here to see see out the entire product phase, and then build a relationship with our clients, throughout the years. So obviously, we've talked about bringing your product to market, having that idea, how we go about bringing our product to market, and also your story, right? Because that's a pretty fun one, and it's also interesting. You get to see behind the scenes every single day. Yeah. And it's really, almost a tribute to what we do here, which, I think is fantastic. It's going to be great to see you on your journey with Tallow and where you end up taking it. So if you have an idea and you don't know where to turn, you're looking to bring it to market, Aaron, where's the best place they can go?
Be on our website, 52launch.com, or click in the show notes right below. If you wanted a free consultation, fill out the form on our website, talk with me and Norm, select a time that works for you. It's completely free. We can discuss your idea, market viability, and what this process for you is really going to look like, and ultimately how we're going to work with you to bring your product to market.
We'll see you there.